Before you spend another dollar on a dyno tune, before you bolt on an aftermarket exhaust, before you let a dealership talk you into a $200 fuel system service that takes their technician 11 minutes to perform, you need to hear this. Because there is a $3 compound sitting in a warehouse in Japan right now that Yamaha and Honda fleet mechanics apply to every high-mileage engine they service. A compound that does not just maintain power, it restores power you did not even know you had lost. Power that was stolen from you gradually, invisibly, mile by mile, every single time you rode. And the reason you are only hearing about it today, the reason your dealership has never once mentioned it in any service write-up, in any maintenance reminder, in any conversation across any counter, is a number. That number is $4.2 billion. That is the annual revenue of the motorcycle performance service industry in the United States alone, and a $3 bottle threatens every dollar of it. Your bike is not performing at the level it was engineered to perform at. I do not mean it feels a little sluggish. I mean there is a measurable, documented, chemically verifiable gap between the horsepower your engine is capable of producing right now and the horsepower it is actually delivering to your rear wheel every time you open the throttle. That gap exists because of carbon. Not carbon fiber, not carbon footprint, carbon deposits. A hard, black, chemically stubborn layer of partially burned fuel residue that accumulates on your fuel injector tips, on your intake valves, inside your combustion chamber, on your piston crown. And it builds quietly, invisibly, at approximately 0.02 millimeters per 5,000 miles of normal riding. By 20,000 miles, most liquid-cooled four-cylinder motorcycle engines are running with combustion chambers that are functionally 8 to 12% smaller than their factory specification. Smaller chamber, lower compression ratio, less power, more heat, worse fuel economy. And not once, in any of that, does a warning light come on. Not once does the bike tell you something is wrong. Because nothing is wrong in the way the diagnostic system understands wrong. The engine is just quietly becoming a worse version of itself. And your dealership, they know. They have always known. The compound that solves this problem is called polyetheramine, a synthetic detergent molecule developed by BASF in the 1980s that was originally engineered for industrial pipeline cleaning in chemical processing plants. It was adopted into automotive and motorsport applications when engineers discovered something remarkable. P does not just dissolve carbon deposits. It dissolves them selectively and completely, breaking the molecular bond between the carbon and the metal surface without damaging the underlying metal at all. No abrasion, no acid, no heat required, just chemistry. A study published in the journal Fuel Processing Technology in 2014 measured the carbon removal efficiency of P-based fuel additives in 4-stroke gasoline engines. After a single treatment cycle, the P-treated engines showed 94% reduction in injector tip carbon deposits and 78% reduction in combustion chamber carbon accumulation measured by direct borescope inspection. 94% from a single treatment. Japanese motorcycle fleet mechanics have known about this since the early 1990s. And stay here, because this is where it gets interesting. Listen. In 1991, a maintenance engineer at a Yamaha-authorized service depot in Shizuoka Prefecture began documenting what he called silent power loss across the commercial delivery fleet he managed. 41 Yamaha XJ series motorcycles, all running identical service schedules, all showing the same pattern. Between 15,000 and 25,000 kilometers, fuel consumption increased by roughly 9%. Throttle response softened measurably at mid-range RPM. Top-end pull weakened without any corresponding mechanical failure. The machines passed every standard diagnostic. Compression readings were acceptable. Valve clearances were within spec. The engineer pulled one engine and put it under magnification. And what he found changed how that entire depot serviced motorcycles for the next 3 decades. Every injector tip was coated. Every intake valve head carried a hard carbon ridge along its seating edge. The piston crown of a machine with 22,000 kilometers looked, chemically, like the inside of an old exhaust pipe. He treated the fleet with concentrated P solution added directly to the fuel tank at the next fill. Cost per machine, approximately 300 yen. Less than $3. Within 2 tanks of fuel, every machine in the fleet showed measurable improvement in fuel return data. By the 3rd tank, the throttle response the riders had been quietly accepting as normal wear was gone. The power was back. Not new power, original power. The power the engine had always been capable of producing and had been quietly unable to deliver because of a layer of carbon that $3 of chemistry dissolved in 180 miles of normal riding. That depot's treatment protocol was adopted across Yamaha's authorized commercial fleet service network in the Tokai region by 1994. It has never appeared in a single Western market service manual. It is not listed in any Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, or Suzuki service bulletin distributed to dealerships outside Japan. Because the dealership that tells you to add $3 of P concentrate to your fuel tank loses the $180 fuel system service. It loses the $95 injector cleaning service. It loses the $140 throttle body carbon removal procedure. A $3 bottle sitting on your kitchen counter is not a revenue stream. And revenue is the only language a service department speaks fluently. If you are still here, you already know more about what is happening inside your engine right now than most riders will ever find out. Subscribe and share this with someone who just booked a fuel system service at their dealer. Hit the bell, because the next video in this series covers the Japanese intake valve cleaning compound that Kawasaki mechanics in Nagoya apply at every 30,000 kilometer service, a step that is standard in Japan and does not exist anywhere in the Western service documentation for your exact motorcycle. You are going to want that one before your next major service. But stay here, because right now I am going to tell you exactly how to do this. It is almost embarrassingly simple. Go online or to any auto parts retailer and purchase a bottle of concentrated P fuel system cleaner. The key word is concentrated. The label must list polyetheramine or P as the primary active ingredient, not petroleum distillates, not detergent blend. P. Chevron Techron Concentrate Plus, available at most auto parts stores and online for $8 to $10 per bottle, contains P at sufficient concentration for multiple motorcycle treatments. One bottle treats 3 to 4 full motorcycle fuel tanks, bringing your per treatment cost to approximately 2.50 cents to $3. That is the number. That is the $3. Wait until your fuel tank is low. Approximately 1/4 tank remaining or less. This is important. A lower fuel volume means the P concentrate reaches a higher working concentration in the fuel before it is diluted at the next fill. Pour exactly 60 milliliters of concentrate into the tank before you fill up. For larger displacement machines, including Harley-Davidson Milwaukee 8 platforms and big bore adventure bikes above 1100 cc with larger fuel system volumes, increase the dose to 80 milliliters. Fill the tank normally with the fuel grade your machine specifies. Ride normally for the next 150 to 200 miles. Mixed riding, some highway segments, some urban stop and go, is better than pure highway miles because varied throttle input exposes every part of the fuel delivery system to the treated fuel under different load and temperature conditions. During these miles, P is dissolving carbon from your injector tips, your intake valve heads, and your combustion chamber surfaces. The dissolved carbon exits the engine through normal combustion. You will notice nothing dramatic. There is no smoke, no unusual smell, no change in idle quality. And that is exactly how good chemistry is supposed to work. Quietly. The results arrive over 2 to 3 tanks of fuel, not instantly, but they arrive completely. Throttle response sharpens. Mid-range pull returns. Fuel economy improves by 6 to 10% in most cases. The top end of the rev range opens up in a way that is difficult to describe until you feel it and then impossible to ignore once you have. Repeat this treatment every 8,000 to 10,000 miles to prevent carbon from rebuilding to the level that began degrading performance in the first place. Annual cost at that interval, $3. Annual cost of ignoring it, a measurable percentage of everything your engine was built to do, surrendered silently, mile by mile, until the number on the dyno sheet is just a ghost of the number the engineers put on paper the day they signed off on your engine's design. Yamaha's engineers in Shizuoka knew this in 1991. That engineer in the depot knew it. The fleet mechanics who serviced those 41 XJ machines knew it. The dealership that serviced your bike last month knew it. And until right now, you were the only person in that room who did not. Subscribe. Share this with every rider you know. The vault opens again soon, and what is inside will make this one look like the introduction. This is just one secret. The next one might save your engine. Subscribe.